Yo, what's up guys, I'm Fire here back with another video, and today we're going to be bringing you guys another offensive scheme in Madden 22. Today we're going to be in the gun wide trips formation. It's definitely a formation that I like a lot, this gun wide trips week. You also have the gun wide off trips week in this same playbook. Now the playbook that I'm in is going to be the Detroit Lions. This is also in some other playbooks. I think it's in Seahawks, I think it's in Vikings, Packers I want to say, but we're going to be rocking with the Detroit Lions. I think this is the best wide trips in the game. Now, we're going to be using Hot Route Master to create some really good setups with some of these lower level, I don't want to say lower level formations, but just things like that aren't as good as bunch with some of the stock routes that you get. Hot Route Master is going to be really helpful in creating some unique and cool play designs. So that's just the reasoning behind it. Now, taking a look at some of the plays that we got, we're going to be running the inside zone right here in the middle. The Y corner on the left, deep in on the right, and jet 6 drive are two of the really good plays in this offense. That deep in play, super unique. You have a deep post from the middle receiver, and then you actually have a zig route on the tight end. So it's going to be our main play. And you could really just run this play almost all game, hot route around, and really actually be pretty successful. So those two plays mainly, and then you have 4 verticals on the left with that tight end route. So those are the plays that we're going to run. Our audible is pretty simple. You got deep in, inside zone, jet 6 drive, and Y corner. And then once again, we're going to be running that 4 verticals as well. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So again, I personally like having Hot Route Master for this scheme. It's going to make it a lot easier. It's going to allow you to do a lot more things. If you don't have Hot Route Master, you can still run it, just not as effectively as you would with the ability. So we're just going to start out with this 4 verticals play. And we're mainly going to build around 1 route or 2 routes in a lot of these plays and then kind of hot route our way around. So focusing in on the route we like here, it's going to be Gronkowski's route. So if you were just to run this play stock, you would notice that Gronkowski is just going to basically be like a deep crosser, similar to that over route in the bunch verticals and similar to that route in the trips tight end verticals where they just are able to run up the field. It's pretty good against man coverage. Now Gronkowski's not the best guy against man, but most tight ends should be able to get some separation. Kyle Pitt's of the world, Jared Cooks definitely will be good for you. Now, of course, we don't really want to run this stock because what are you doing with Evans? What are you doing with Scotty Miller? You're really doing nothing. Now, the setup I like to go to the most out of this is going to be a setup that looks a lot like this. So I like to just put X on like a deep post, slant RB, put the running back on a little out to the left. Now, he already is on that kind of a route, but it's a check and release. So if they were to send pressure, he would block instead of going out on the route. So I like this setup, just a little basic setup. And again, you just kind of really make the user choose something, and he's really just going to have to pick 1 route to defend. Now, ideally, we're going to be choosing between really 3 routes to throw. It's going to be the slant with our man Tyler Johnson here, Giovanni's route, and then, of course, Gronkowski. If it happens to be man coverage or a cover 2, that's where you can get Mike Evans open. But this setup, pretty good. I like this setup a lot. And you could go like in route or whatever you want with that slant, but I like the slant a little bit better if it does happen to be man coverage. If you're going to get up against zone, you could simply just put him on like maybe a little drag, maybe a dig route, who knows, but the setup would be good. I'll show it one more time, and then here, let's just hit Giovanni out of the backfield, and you see we get a lot of space on that. Again, his route's going to be good against zone, good against man coverage as well. So really good setup right there. Some other things that I like to do with this play are go with a little Texas route. So I like this Texas route a lot. Generally what I'm going to do is also go with like a little zig. And then with X, I might actually motion him over and put him on like a little flat. So, or a little out route, whatever you want. But something like this can be a good setup where we're just going to kind of focus in on the angle route and the tight end route. If you notice your opponent start to adjust his zone drops to actually go over the top, this is a really good combination to attack the flats. So again, a little Texas route, which you would, if you have backfield master, you could do the setup. You don't need hot route master, but I like the little zig. If you wanted to go hitch, you definitely could. We could kind of go dual hitches actually. Motion Evans over, put him on a hitch. So you go 2 hitches if it's heavy zone coverage like this, cover 3 for example. Then you see the curl flag gets pulled over, so you could actually be able to hit both these men on the sidelines, both Bernard on his angle, and then, of course, Gronkowski on that deeper over route. So 4 verticals, really, really good. And, yeah, man, those are really the 2 setups that I have for this particular play. Of course, You could do different things, but I like these two setups. You could go with some basic things like, who knows what you could do, but something like this. But yeah, you could really just create a lot of ideas. If you want to see more of these setups, let me know if you want a gameplay on this formation. Could definitely bring that as well. But that's going to do for four verticals. Let's hop into the inside zone next. And this is going to be a heavy passing formation. You're not going to run the ball as much as you would, you know, in any other formation. It's going to be similar to like a gun bunch where you're going to be throwing the ball. You're not going to really want to run the ball at this formation. Now, the run is good in it. Don't take that as the run is terrible. It's good in this formation, but you want to pass the ball. This is a passing set. It can be good to pick up a couple yards, especially if he's in dollar, whatever the formation may be. But and you see, you can definitely pick up 5+ yards at a time almost. These blocks are developing weird, and we are playing a good defense, so keep that in mind. But here you see an example of the blocks developing. Bernard, obviously not the fastest running back in the world, but keep him honest. You can also incorporate some things like motion to throw him off a little bit. So we motion, you see the safeties rotate over, and that could actually open our run game to the outside potentially. So do things like that to confuse your opponent, but run the ball just enough to keep him honest and just enough to make him worry about the run, but ultimately he shouldn't be focused so much. You shouldn't be running the ball so much to where he actually is playing run defense, if that makes any sense. So again, simple stuff. Can pick you up 4 or 5 yards, get ahead of the chains if you want, but you want to mainly throw the ball in this formation, pick up some chunk plays. All right, we're going to move to another play, and let's go to the wide corner now. And again, this play is not as good as the other ones, but you can still build some cool schemes around it, some cool things around it. What I like to personally go to is something kind of like this, where we're just going to keep things simple. You have a little corner out, smoke screen, and then you have your crosser and flat. This is going to be our first setup. This corner out's going to get pretty deep down the field, but ultimately it seems like the best spot to throw it is kind of right there. And again, if we wanted to hot route, what we could do is also just put him on a regular corner out and smart route it, get him on maybe a corner out we like a little bit better, and this would allow him to maybe cut a little bit better, get potentially more open on that side. Now, again, corner routes without clear outs against cover 3 are not going to be the best, so that outside third is going to have an opportunity to play it, but it is still a throwable pass if you really wanted to. If you want to incorporate something like a clear out, you could go with a play design like this. Maybe we just go option like a little smoke screen over here. So setup like this would not be terrible. And again, he might get a little bit more open over there. Ultimately, his corner out does seem a little bit deeper, so we would probably prefer this play against man coverage, but it definitely can get open against things like cover 2 as well. Now, a setup that I also like out of this is kind of creating just hot routing every single thing, which doesn't really use much of the play. You could kind of run the setup out of any play, but it is something that I like. And you would go kind of something almost like this, where we would maybe... Actually, I'm going to flip the play. I like this play on the white side a little bit more. So we're going to go use the wheel route, and then we're going to go ahead, hitch RB, curl A, and then smoke screen B. This is a really good spacing concept, and almost always one of those routes on the right is going to be open. Now, I probably would prefer to run it on the wide side, but the wheel routes from the wide side, I'll show you, give you an example. They just don't seem to work as good because obviously Bernard's running further to the sideline, which means the flat zone is more likely to cover him, but it still could work. And again, the spacing concept should work from both sides. And I mean, he does get open, so you could pretty much scratch that. Clearly, he does get open against cover 3. So it shouldn't really make a difference which side you actually run it from. So, and again, I like this out of the wide corner play. It does not really matter which play, but take a look at the spacing concept on that left side again, and you see a lot of times the curl route isn't going to get bumped that far inside. If it's cover 2, generally the hitch is open, and again, that smoke screen could definitely get open as well. So I'll show it one more time here. And again, I like this. I've seen some people potentially flip the curl in the hitch, which you can't really do with the tight end, so that's more of a trips type setup or a YU trips, something like that. But this setup, I like it. And you see, again, you got Gronk in the open or the wheel route, which you can throw at pretty much any time. So overall, pretty good setup right there. All right, that's going to take us to my favorite play, personal favorite play. And again, with wide corner, if you wanted to, you could actually do some cool things, maybe like this. I'll show just a quick play. Curl, drag, motion over the drag. You have a corner out, You have a little curl, so you could do different things like that. But again, if you want to see more of those, let me know in the gameplay. But we're mainly going to focus in on these other plays because we have the most setup for these plays. So, and I obviously run these plays the most. So deep in, take a look at our player. What do we have? What do we like? We like two routes. We like the tight end and the deeper post. So two nice routes right there. And we're going to build around those pretty much. So what I like to do with this particular play is I'm going to motion over Evans a lot of the time. I like motioning over Evans in this play a lot. And we can do a lot with this play. We could actually put Evans on a little corner route. Maybe we streak him. Maybe we put a little Texas route. So this would be one setup that I like a lot. You have a streak, you have a corner route, you have a Texas, and then you have a zig. And then, of course, that deeper post. So that's a setup that I like. You could also go with that same setup with a smoke screen instead of that streak route. So that's one, and we're going to show a ton, so stay tuned. But again, you could also go with something like this. Maybe we just curl X, throw Y on a little option, and then maybe we just smoke screen B. So this is another one you could go to. A little option, zig, smoke screen, and then with RB, RB is not usually intended to actually be thrown to. If it is something like man coverage, trust me, he's going to get wide open, Tyler Johnson. But against zone coverage, he's actually generally used as a clear out. Now, it depends on a lot of factors. A, is he leaving the middle of the field open? B, is he leaving hook curls on the field? So if he is leaving the middle of the field open, you could definitely throw it. It's a difficult route to user, but it's also used as a distraction where you kind of want them to user it, and then you can open up some other things down the field. So those are two just quick setups that you can go to. Another one, we can put X. What I like to do is put X on a little crosser. I like to flat Y and then put B on a curl. This is my favorite setup in this play. I love this setup a lot. Just thinking about man coverage. If it's man coverage, if it is man coverage, go with this out route instead. And then with B, the curl could get open, or you could even go on like a C route. But this setup is going to be really good. We're just going to first throw it to Bernard, and this is my favorite setup. I run this a lot, so we're going to stay with this setup for a little bit, show every read, every route that you can throw. And again, the motion can be a tell, which is why I like to incorporate Mike Evans on a motion in a couple of other plays. Obviously, 4 verticals was the play we didn't really use it, but you still could, of course, if you wanted to. So that was the first read, Giovanni Bernard out of the backfield. Now let's focus on Gronk. Gronk, you can really throw him, but look at the way he brings down a hook curl as well. He's going to burn man coverage with a zig. All zig routes are really, really good against man. And, of course, you can't press the tight end, so he's basically a 100% win rate against man coverage if you think about it. Against zone hook curl, he's actually bringing down to Mario Davis, which, guess what? That's going to open up. It's going to open Mike Evans in the middle of the field. Not only can you throw Mike Evans in the middle of the field, but you can also wait to the sideline and throw it then. So that is one thing. And also, with the same route combination, what else could you do? You could go with a wheel route, out route combination with Scotty Miller. You can also motion snap him if you want. So boom, now we have Giovanni Bernard on the wheel route. So you can just see where we're kind of going with this, just opening things up, really just using different routes. And again, let's say I don't like the crosser with Evans. I know some guys, they don't like the crossers. They say it takes a little bit too much time to develop. We can go post route instead. So maybe we go post, and they might like this a little bit better. And again, with Tyler Johnson, you can definitely throw that right there. He is definitely a throwable pass. This is even without gunslinger. We have set feet lead, I believe, or does he have pass lead elite? Which one does he have? Set feet lead. So we have set feet lead, and we're able to complete that with not a doubt of really him being open at all. So really, really good stuff right there. As far as other routes that you could really go with, you could kind of just build around those. But again, like I mentioned, you could go maybe corner route. Maybe we just drag A, streak B, and then put Y on a little angle route. So you go with something like this, where you're only keeping one route. But again, just mixing it up, creating different concepts, and really just opening up the field. So that's my favorite play. Those are some of my favorite setups. I do urge you guys to run that play a lot, and I definitely call this play the most. That's going to take us into our last play, which will be the Jet 6 drive. Now, with this play, it's a little bit worse than a deep end. You can take some concepts, but generally I like it for one route, and that's going to be Scotty Miller's route. It's a unique route. It's kind of like those reverse streaks that you can actually create in bunch with that bunch verticals play that are pretty good. As far as some of the other things we got Tyler Johnson right here that we can use. And just initially off the bat, something you could do is like smoke screen X with A. I don't know what you want to do. You can go with the little trail route and then just kind of snap this play like this. Take a look at Scotty Miller. He's going to do absolute work in that seam. A lot of guys, they see wide trips. Are they ever going to expect something on that right seam so quickly? Definitely not. Now, this play, you got to mix it in at the right times, catch him in the right coverage. Of course, if it's man coverage, this play is not going to be necessarily as good. But let's go to some other setups that I like out of this play. And one of them that I like a lot is going to be, again, you can actually motion over Evans or Tyler Johnson in this case. But we can go with like a little slant, post A, and then maybe we smoke screen X or put him on like a deep post. So you go with this setup. Now again, typically with all those routes in this area, it doesn't make it as good, especially with A on a post route. So something that you can do instead, because again, A is kind of in the way in this play, especially when he's on a post, and especially when you motion over, it kind of brings things in the area. So probably want to go like drag, corner route with A, and then X on like a deeper post. So this setup could definitely be good. And then of course Scotty Miller can open things up there. Now it just depends on the routes that you have. You see the outside third stuck with him very well in that particular play. So again, the motion definitely can hurt this play. It seems to work a little bit worse when you motion over. I'm sure you noticed that. So we showed those setups. So let's focus in on some other things that you can do. And with this play, what you can do is create that same spacing concept that we did out of that Y corner play. You could just run your offense like this. Take a look at Giovanni Bernard. You can throw that pass almost at any time, and he's going to be open for you because that streak does a really good job of carrying up both hook, curl flat, and outside third zones up the field. So you can go with something like that. Again, we already showed something like this, but if you wanted to, you can go like a little corner route concept, something actually kind of like the Y corner play. Set up like this, you could definitely go to. You have your little drag, you have your corner out seat down the field. So if he does end up using B, which I would not recommend, you're going to be able to throw some things on the left-hand side, which is certainly going to help you. Some other things that you can do is go with maybe like an angle route. Again, it's kind of difficult, but I would probably go like, if I had to go with a route, drag, and then something like this potentially. Or we could throw the crosser late, which would probably be a good setup. So. And I want to show some max protect setup, so I will show it like this. Cross RB, post X, drag A. And then you can still run the play, and it should still work. You see there is a window to throw B there. You have your drag, and then late in the play, you have a deeper post and a crosser. And realistically, if you wanted to run it, you could just streak B and actually run that same setup. So you could run it like this with a regular streak, and this play would still be pretty good. There you see the crosser. So overall, you just have a ton of options with this play. Again, let me know if you want to see a gameplay, but that's going to do the video. If you enjoyed, drop a big thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel down below. Follow all my links in the description as well. And peace. I'm out of here.